Hi, I'm Mrs. Savage, and I'm here today to talk to you about the reading section of the ACT that you will be taking on February 23rd. The reading section is comprised of 4 passages, and each passage is followed by 10 questions. So it's 4 passages, 40 total questions that you will be expected to complete in 35 minutes or less. Sounds daunting, right? So, hopefully, in the next 10 to 15 minutes, I can give you a bit of an overview of the test and some strategies that will help you seamlessly go from passage to passage and answer the questions appropriately. Okay? So, to start, those 4 passages are prose fiction, social sciences, humanities, and science. They will always come in that order. You do not need to approach them in that order, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. The prose fiction will have a plot, it will have characters, everything that goes with a story. Okay. The other 3 are more like textbook reading, and you can approach those 3 the same way. The big thing to remember is they are only asking questions about what is found in those passages. Now, they pick obscure topics that most of us are not going to be familiar with, but if you happen to be familiar with a topic and they ask a question and one of the answers you know is right based on knowledge you learned in history class, but they haven't mentioned it in the passage, don't pick that one. You want to pick an answer that goes with the passage. You can answer the passages in the order that are best for you. So, for example, if science is not your bag, and I would agree with that for me, maybe you think that's going to be your hardest passage, leave it for last. Good for you, it's in the last spot. But maybe you think the science passage is the easiest one for you because you have knocked biology out of the park. There is no rule that says you have to read and answer questions in the order that they are there. So you can flip to the 4th passage and answer questions 31 through 40 first. The only caution I would give you about this is to make sure you are answering in the right bubble. Okay? When you read each passage, do not read every word. You need to concentrate, but don't focus on understanding every single thing. Skim it. The method I like to teach is you read the blurb in italics that comes before the passage. You read the first and the last paragraph in full, and then the first sentence of the paragraphs in between. This should be enough to figure out what the key argument of the passage is, and then you can go to the questions. Learn how to find trap answers. I'm going to talk to you about those. These writers love to trick you. I know it's diabolical. Maybe I should be a writer. I don't know. But these test writers, they are trying to trip you up. They want to know you're paying attention. Number 5, cover answers and predict in order to avoid trap answers. If you read the question and immediately think you know the answer, find it, bubble it in, and move on. Do not dwell. Okay? You can use POE or process of elimination, which always helps, especially if you feel like you're not really sure. If you can eliminate 2 answers, you now have a 50% chance of getting it right over a 25% chance. And then finally, spend time understanding the questions rather than the passage. You have approximately, if you devote equal time to every passage, you have approximately 8 minutes and 45 seconds per passage. I would rather see you spend 3 minutes on the passage and the other 5 minutes and 45 seconds on the questions, because that's where they're messing with your brain. Okay? All questions are worth 1 point. So a super easy question is worth the same as a super hard question. So answer those super easy questions, okay? Because they're just as important as the hard ones. So how should I approach each passage and set of questions? So we've already said you're going to read the italicized blurb at the top. And let me show you what I mean. So this is what the beginning of the reading test will say. There's a number 3 on it because it's the third test you will take. So here's the prose fiction passage, and you see there's a little blurb here. And then you've got the passage, and oh, look how nice of them. They've numbered the lines. You'll see why in a minute. And then there's the questions. And then there's the social science passage. And the questions follow. Okay, so when I talk about the italicized blurb, this here is what I am talking about. Okay, so you're going to read the italicized blurb at the top. You're going to skim, looking for your thesis, key argument, main idea, claim. All those are the same thing. They can be used interchangeably, and the test writers will use them interchangeably. Okay? I'm going to use the term key argument throughout this session. So when you get to the questions, I recommend that you answer them easiest to hardest because, say it with me now, every question is worth 1 point. Okay? So easy questions ask about the passage. Hard questions ask about the author. Well, why is that the case? Because questions that ask about the passage, you can find the answer. Questions that ask about the author, you got to get into the author's head. Okay? Easy questions ask about a word or a sentence. They'll say, what does the word strange mean? Okay? Or in this sentence, what is he talking about? Versus in this entire passage or in this paragraph, what tone does the author have? Okay. Easy questions are usually very specific, whereas hard questions are more general. Easy questions can be done more quickly, hard questions take more time. This is where I would say if you think you need to memorize something, this would be what you want to remember. Questions, easy questions are vocab questions, line reference questions, and lead phrase questions. And we're going to talk about those in a minute. Hard questions ask about the author's argument, tone, and main point. Finally, I know you're surprised to see this, but easy questions are worth a point, hard questions are worth a point. Okay? Now, I talked to you about those trap answers. These people like to get in your head and trip you up. So these are the 5 common things that they do, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, to try to trip you up. They use deceptive language. Some of these questions or answers really may be true in relation to the passage, but they don't answer the question. So you need to be sure you know what the question is asking. Extreme words. Best, never, must, most, worst, those extremes. Always, never. Okay? When you see those words, eliminate the answer immediately. I just read the other day, if an answer would offend someone, get rid of it. True but not stated in the passage. I talked about that earlier. It's an answer, you only answer based on what is in the passage. They will never ask you to draw on prior knowledge. Sometimes they'll give you the exact opposite of what's stated in the passage. Be sure to read the entire answer choice and make sure you understand the question. Because if they do, and all of these are right except, or which of the following is not, you need to be sure you answer correctly. Half right, half wrong. They love these. And they put the half right at the beginning. So you need to be sure you read the entire answer, not just the first part. Did I mention that all questions are worth the equal amount? Okay, just making sure. Different types of questions. Okay, the two major types of questions are comprehension questions, which ask about the passage. You can usually find the answer in the passage. Whereas reasoning questions ask about the author. So they'll say, the author did this. What do you think the author's view or aim or goal is? All right. You'll see these numbers in here. I should have deleted them before I recorded this video. I will fix it before I post the handout. So let's start with comprehension questions. They ask about the passage. They will tell you exactly where to look in the passage. In line number blah. Okay. Lead word questions aren't as specific as line reference, but if you read the question, you'll notice a keyword or phrase that probably only appears in the passage in one place. And then, kind of like looking for a number, you look for that word or phrase. And then vocab and context. They only want to know how it's used in the passage. More than likely, they're going to use a word that has multiple meanings, and you need to pick the meaning that occurs in the passage. So let me take us back to the earlier passage and show you what I mean. Look at number 12. Which of the following best describes the way the fifth paragraph, lines 48 through 54, functions in the passage as a whole? Now, that happens to be a line reference question, but it's actually a reasoning question. They want to know what purpose that paragraph serves. That will come up at least 2 or 3 times in your whole thing. But you know exactly where to go to reread that paragraph. And since I told you just read the first sentence, this time you'll read the whole paragraph when you go to it. Number 20, the passage indicates that instruments for determining longitude now include, well, you're going to look for, talk about lead phrase, instruments for determining longitude. Okay, you would look for that phrase. I don't have a vocab, maybe up here. Nope. There's no vocab and context question on this one. There will be somewhere. They usually have 2 or 3 of those as well. Okay. So, no, I mean per test, not per passage. Reasoning questions ask about the author. So they test what the author says or means, while comprehension tests what the passage says or means. We talked about that earlier. So for these questions, you need to get in the author's head. So inference questions, they ask what must be true based on what you've read. Try to find the one-step answer. Don't defend it. Okay, if you need to feel you need to explain why you've chosen it, you probably chose the wrong one. The inference questions are always almost too obvious, for lack of a better way of putting it. Let's go back, because there is an inference. It can be reasonably inferred from the passage that before Harrison's efforts, other individuals trying to solve the longitude problem had failed too. Okay, so that is an inference question. This is the test I will post along with the handout. So if you want to go look based on my comments, you can do that. Author agreement response questions. Use what you've decided is the key argument of the whole passage. Like, why did the author bother to write this passage? To help you with these. Go with the answers that are most general. The more specific answers will have something wrong with them. Okay. So if they get specific, like nitpicky, it's probably something wrong. There's the accept questions. Which of the following is not supported by the passage? These you can find the answer in the passage, but instead of, I don't have this as an easy question because it's several comprehension questions in one. Definitely use process of elimination on this. And then author's attitude or tone questions. First, decide if the author is positive, negative, or neutral about the subject. Then you can decide if they use analysis or emotion. If they use analysis, they're going to be neutral. If they use emotion, they're going to be positive or negative. All right. So if you decide that the author is positive, you can use process of elimination to eliminate any of the negative tones. If you decide that the author is negative, you can use process of elimination to eliminate all of the positive tones. And then you're left usually with two, and you can choose from those. Okay. Again, though, all your questions are worth 1 point, right? So that is the reading test in a nutshell. I know that was really fast. However, if you would like to learn more about the Reading ACT, you can attend my live session on Wednesday, February 10th. It's a remote day. It will be from 11:30 to 12:30 that day. And you will be able to ask questions and get answers immediately. I will probably take some time to go through a specific test and we can answer questions, go through questions together. I'll review some of these strategies more in depth. Hopefully, this has been helpful for you. I wish you luck on Tuesday, February 23rd. Thanks for watching.